October's colours were reaching their glorious peak. Pheasant season was open, and the fellowship had encamped once again for our annual bird week. It is a time of pheasant, grouse and woodcock hunting, the long-tailed birds being a one-day dalliance with grouse and woodcock our primary attraction. In some 40 seasons of upland hunting, never have I experienced a more protracted stretch of truly perfect weather as this one in 2002. Scenting conditions were ideal for dog work, and the cool air with intermittent sunshine was a bird hunter's delight. All was faultless, save for low grouse numbers, till the approach of weekend when gusty winds brought rain. I had left camp and, as is my custom, completed my sojourn staying with a family member living near the Lake Michigan shoreline. A bit tuckered from several days of wending my way through places that were, to quote John Madson, too thick to go through, too high to go over and too low to go under. I relished the prospect of lingering by the fire, listening to the falling rain and catching up on family doings. But after a day of off and on downpour, the rain eased to a misty drizzle. I gazed from the window onto a leaden sky, flaming maples and puddles everywhere, recalling that delightful story. Woodcock Like It Wet, by Burton Spiller, the New England writer widely acclaimed as the poet laureate of grouse. I also recalled a similarly damp afternoon one November when my pointer Winnie, now gone and sadly missed, was in her prime. It was then that I learned the truth expressed in Mr. Spiller's title. On that not-to-be-forgotten day, we got into the fastest, most furious woodcock gunning I'd ever experienced. So frenetic was the action that I lost count of the number of birds we moved, but distinctly recall how many I shot, exactly 2. As for the number of shot shells expended to achieve that heroic bag, well, never mind. It was in the same area, just a year ago, that my friend's young English setter came into her own, pointing 11 of the 13 woodcock flown. And it had rained most of that morning. We didn't release Sandy into the dampness until well after lunch. With those standout days tugging at my bird hunter's heartstrings, you know I had to pull on rubber boots, don so-called waterproof chaps, and head to the nearby lands of the Manistee National Forest. It woodcock like it wet, as I have come to believe they do. Surely this last day of my hunting trip held much promise. We had the place to ourselves even though it was Saturday. Who else would be restless enough or foolish enough to be in the woods on such a day? The cover, much of it young forest, brushy and weedy, seemed okay for woodcock, though I'd have preferred more aspen and alder growth in the mix. We hunted it anyway, knowing that flight woodcock often choose coverts different in character from those preferred by the native birds, and hoping the cock would find it to their liking. They did, walking a 2-track road and letting my English pointer pup, Lady, work the dripping cover. I had no sooner approached a small opening fringed with young birches when Lady pointed. She held, and at my approach, 3 woodcock flushed into the misty distance unscathed. A 4th bird followed the others, also unharmed. I had forgotten to reload. Lady, overstimulated by the action, bumped and chased the next 2 birds, but redeemed herself with solid points on 4 others, none offering shots. A late afternoon log crept in, and I exchanged Lady, soaked to her hide, for Dolly, my English setter, who had been impatiently and noisily awaiting her turn. She was wild with adrenaline, hunting at the far range of her bell, the sound of which was muffled by the sogginess. It seemed that she was continually on point, while I was shooting holes in the fog at ghost woodcock. Back at the car, wet and birdless but happy, I recounted the hunt and estimated we had moved at least 16 woodcock in just over 2 hours. If one's week of hunting must end, this wasn't a bad finale. While the less said of my shooting, the better. As for dog work, no bird lies better for a pointing dog than woodcock, one of the delights of hunting these remarkable little game birds. Don't expect to move many ruffed grouse when the woods are soaked. They'll be under cover, holed up in the pines and spruces and other such retreats that won't do you or me or our dogs any good. Rainy days and woodcock, however, go together. I think that is because of the bird's preference for a nearly all earthworm diet. Rain-softened ground makes for easier probing with the bird's long bills, helping them grasp worms in places they'd spurn in dry conditions. Woodcock, notes no less an authority than biologist William G. Sheldon. The Book of the American Woodcock, 1967, rather relish wet conditions. If rain threatens your hunting plans, take heart in knowing that while other game birds might ensconce themselves in undiscoverable places at such times, woodcock do indeed like it wet. Republished with permission from Rainy Day Woodcock by John L. Rogers, 2004, The Upland Almanac, Summer 2004 by John L. Rogers.